I walk in the bank and I deposit $5,000. Even if it's a cashier's checks, it takes 4 or 5 days to get clear. Why is that?
It's a big circle. So you put in X amount of dollars. People think that, oh, okay, so the bank normally has, whatever millions and all this other stuff. No, the bank does not have money, especially with the fractional banking rules that are in place. No, they don't. But what they do is they have other assets and other investments that they turn around and do. And what they use is they have the right to use depository income or assets to fulfill these type of investments. Some of these deals turn around and yield them a high yield. These guys are moving billions of dollars back and forth. I've created a nonprofit called the Tomorrow is Better. I grab individuals with like-mindedness, but doesn't have the opportunity, and they want to make an impact financially to the community. So I train them to become financial advisors.
Robert V. Owens, a proud North Miami senior high school class of 1997 alumnus, turned a life-changing injury into the beginning of an extraordinary journey in finance. After building his career at some of the nation's leading financial institutions, he founded RV Strategic Group with a mission to educate families, build generational wealth, and create lasting financial legacies. More than an advisor, he's a mentor and community leader who believes that true success is measured not just by wealth, but by the lives you inspire and the legacy you leave behind.
I have $100,000. I say, listen, you have whole life insurance, S&P 500, or Roth IRA, or real estate. And I want to know what you would suggest to me.
Now I have 2 AI agents that turn around, what's going on, what is the opportunity, and now increase my Sharpe ratio by over 36%.
If you could sit down with your younger self on your first day at Morgan Stanley team in 2001, what advice would you give him knowing everything you know today?
Make sure that you master and understand the financial pyramid. I would heavily load up on life insurance. I would maximize instead of jumping straight into the stock market.
Welcome back to another episode on Jules Legacy Enterprise Productions, where story connects generations. Conversation with a Pioneer, a segment that celebrates the life and journey of North Miami Senior High School pioneers, a bridge in the past and the present to inspire the future. Behind every name, there is a story. Robert V. Owens, an alumnus from class of 97. It is with great pleasure to bring him here. Not only he's an alumnus from St. Thomas University, but he's a chief investment operator at RV Strategic Group. It is with great pleasure to actually bring him here in the studio to talk finance, talk about life, talk about his upbringing and everything. Please help us welcome Mr. Robert Owens.
All right. Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me.
How are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. And yourself?
Do you remember how we met?
Yeah, absolutely.
So before that, I'm always in the neighborhood. I'm actually always driving around, getting to know some of the people there.
Correct.
So when I stumble upon your house, I'm like, man, another alumni, right?
Exactly. Been there for, oh my gosh, since 1993. It built onto a couple other things there, but that's the root house where everything originated from.
All right, so Robert is fine with you?
Absolutely.
All right. Absolutely. So you've been in the city since 93.
Yes.
Then you graduated in 97.
97, that is correct.
Walk us through your process after graduation. What was going through your mind?
Well, mine was a little bit different than most people. I had a real severe injury that took me out of a lot of opportunities. But in the Owens household, you only have a couple of options. It's either A, you turn around, figure out how to get into school, or B, you join the military.
Okay.
So, one of the things I wanted to figure out was how to move on with my education.
Okay.
So I went to St. Thomas University.
Right.
Got a scholarship there. Got my bachelor's in computer information systems with a minor in finance. Mm-hmm. And went around to Morgan Stanley, did an internship.
Nice.
And was hired, and then started my financial career from there.
You mind talking to us about the injury? What type of injury was it?
It was a life-changing injury. A lot of stuff that was going on in North Miami. The fields weren't up to par and stuff like that. It was just not the best areas at that time.
Okay.
So I got a little injury there. Spare you from the details on how bad the injury was.
Of course.
But it was enough to change my career from, at that time, I was trying to be a sports athlete.
Okay.
Trying to do football and stuff like that. And then, but it was enough for me to change for the good and to redirect it into finance.
How was your experience at St. Thomas?
It was interesting. Just like everything else, it was changing, it was evolving. They were trying to do a lot of new things, implement a lot of new things there. At that time, computers was the big thing over there. So I jumped on because it was the bandwagon. But come to find out that that was not my passion.
Wow.
My passion was finance. And it took a real good mentor to align that with me, because he was asking, what do you want to end up doing? You want to work and do, same old and turn around and, just be miserable, or you want to do something that's going to create change and create impact? And that kind of resonated with me.
You stayed on campus, or you were off campus?
Half and half. A little bit. First couple of semesters I was on campus, and then came back home.
Okay.
Yeah.
You began your career at some of the largest financial institutions in the country. Looking back, which experience had the greatest impact of your approach to investment management, and why?
Very good, very good. That's a very good question. All of them have a impact. I like to always say that life is a journey, and the question is, how do you make the best of it to make yourself grow and ascend to the next level? So one of the things I'll have to say was life-changing, or I would say life-changing, career-changing, was my time with Wells Fargo.
Okay.
And the reason being, it was during that period where we like to say the mortgage meltdown.
We're talking about 08, 09?
08, 09. Yes, indeed. Yes. So there was a lot of stuff that was going on during that time period. And, it taught me how to be, one, compassionate, two, to listen, and three, not everyone has the same story. Everyone has different needs. Everyone has different obstacles. And the question is, can you come up with the best solution to help them get out of that scenario? So it taught me how to be a little bit more understanding, and it helped me to elevate to the next level. And that's where I decided to say, hey, can't do this all by myself. I need to surround myself with other individuals that have the same like-mindedness, at the same time too, that is willing to go that extra mile to give that type of impact to the community.
In your opinion, what do you think happened in 08 with the housing market?
Well, a lot of it started with individuals getting a little bit too creative. And once you're being too creative, greed tends to come around and open that door. Now, from there, a lot of stuff I like to say, understanding that I am an advisor, so I have to watch certain things I say, but I will say that a lot of stuff was because of people didn't understand the products that they were getting into, and they're going by hearsay versus let me do my research and understand what I'm getting into. And with that being said, it became a real big mess. And a lot of people suffered because of that,
Do you see that happening now?
Well, in certain ways, in certain different areas. In regards to finance, there's a lot of stuff going on now with the $1 million topic, which is called AI.
Right.
So, I like to say it's HI versus AI, and understanding why is the change going on and how to adapt and change with AI. So if you don't understand how that works, then it's going to be an uphill battle for the individual.
What do you mean?
Well, take for instance, when you're turning around and simple customer service. Well, that's turning around, you're used to building rapport with the individual. Well, with AI, a lot of that stuff is going out the window. The second part there is now turning around, what is your needs?
Okay, well, there's a whole bunch. A lot of these institutes have some preset format of what customer service is and what are these needs. So it's up to usually the individual to learn this. But what I've discovered is not that many people, it's not that they don't want to know. It's just they don't know where to start. So I believe it's the financial advisor or the actual financial professional responsibility to talk to the individual, no matter if it takes additional 20 or 15 minutes longer, but talk to them and properly make sure that they understand what they're trying to do. Outline what are your goals, what are you trying to do? Now, when you skip that process and you go right into the field, I like to say, then there's so many, that margin of error increases gigantically.
Wow.
And that's why you run into a lot of problems and a lot of things, tax problems and stuff. So the problem is just, the monster's still there. It's just a different avenue or a different shape.
Talk to us about your childhood. As far as, you have any siblings, parents?
Yeah. Yes. I have 4 siblings. 2 of them, I grew up with. My younger brother, or I should say my foster brother, he grew up with me and stuff like that. Same, learning from our father that is no longer here. But we learned a lot about certain things about responsibility.
Right.
Taking it to the next level, as in there's also, decisions, responsibility, understanding that every time you do something, there's a choice and there's a reward and there's a consequence. The question is, are you mature enough to pick the right one? And then the last one there, going to the next phase, at that time there, my dad was sick, so my mother turned around and had to play both roles.
Wow.
Yeah, so she taught us how to fend for ourselves and turn us at the same time there too. No one's not coming here to rescue you, so you need to figure a way how to rescue yourself.
It's true. It's a lot of those stories, like a lot of single mom being, raising kids, and
Absolutely.
It's pretty tough.
Absolutely.
Having worked across banking, commercial, real estates, wealth management, and investment advisory services, what key lesson have you carried into the leadership of RV Owens strategic groups?
Great question. So one of the key things that I have to take with all those, being into all those arenas, was you have to start from the ground up.
Okay.
So it starts with sitting down, coming up with a plan, and then figuring out milestones. How do we get to point A, to point B, to point C, and so on. I've seen a lot of people do not come up with a good, strong plan. And then, long story short, whatever they're building tend to crumble within time. So from what I've seen and what I've taken to or brought to my team was, we want to come up with a game plan. And then second thing you want to do is not just come up with a game plan, you want to put a milestone on it. So hey, we're getting here and stuff that we haven't accomplished, let's move it forward. So you can see growth within the process. And the third thing is accountability. Acknowledge the fact of the matter that, hey, you came up short. No one likes people that turn around and say, hey, it wasn't my fault, or you try to overlook it. Be accountable for your actions and know that, hey, all right, I messed up, but you know what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a great tactical plan so we can move forward and make sure we get to your goals as quickly as possible.
What made you leave corporate America to going into opening your own business?
Because I would like to give my clients more concierge service. That's one of the things that I feel that's lacking now. When you go into a lot of the big guys, a lot of people are being seen as numbers, or there's a time frame that you should be with a person. And like I said, like everyone else has different needs and different obstacles. So when you are able to be, I like to say, a little bit smaller, but more hands-on, I'm able to abstract the sensitive and the small data that means a lot to a person, and come up with a better plan to make sure that they can get to their goal in the best efficient manner possible.
As an advisor, let's say I have $100,000 at my disposal. how would you advise me to invest that money?
Good question. First thing is, we'll sit down. We'll have a strong conversation. I would like to know, what is your short-term, mid-term, and long-term goal? I want to know how we're going to go about it. A lot of people turn on and say, hey, I'm going to turn on buy some real estate. Or B, I want to turn on jump into stocks. But how can you jump into investment if you don't even know what your risk tolerance is? You can't handle that type of risk. Or maybe you don't have enough adequate amount of capital to do those type of investments. So it starts with the conversation to know, hey, you know what do you see yourself in that? And I say short-term, meaning first 6 months, mid-term, meaning 6 months to 1 year, and then long-term is anything for 1 year and beyond. So what do you want to do? Then what I'll do is I'll try to create a game plan of how do you want to see that money compound or increase. So we'll start by first figuring out your risk tolerance. How do you feel towards certain risks? What happens if everything looks good when the market's going up? Everyone's happy.
Of course.
But when the market's going down, how do you respond to it? And everybody's different.
Right.
Some people could weather the storm. Some people just turn on and say, hey, that's it. I'm cashing my chips.
Of course.
So to come up with the actual product or the end result, you can't do that. You got to know what you want, how you want to do it, and how do you want that to compound. And that's only accomplished once you outline it through your goals.
You know, your risk tolerance changes over time, right? Because
absolutely.
Like an 18-year-old could take high risk. You know, someone that's like 7 years old, they're a little bit more reserved with their risk. They're like, listen, I just want to make the very safe amount. Someone who's 18, 20 years old, who just started a career, they could take a high risk with the market because they have time to catch up, right?
Absolutely.
What is the best investment to you thus far?
The best investment is investing into the actual individual. And why I say that? Because the more you know about the actual industry, you'll find out that one product can be managed. I say manipulated.
Yeah.
Can be managed into another product, and it could turn around and serve dual purpose or triple purposes than an actual individual product. So let me give you an example. You know, my goal is to turn around and build a retirement account. So, hey, I could put it into a retirement fund. I can invest in real estate. There's a lot of people, a lot of experts out there. However, I want to turn around and invest and have that money compound. But also, I can turn around and put it into a certain vehicle, and it can bring down my tax liabilities. Mm-hmm. So now you start figuring out, so what can I do? Can I put in a traditional IRA? Can I put in a Roth? But now you have a business and you bring in X amount of dollars. So now, do I go in a regular traditional IRA, or do I go into a SEP IRA or simple IRA where I can have a larger amount to turn on and put in? So the best investment is yourself. Learn about the products, learn what it is. And then second thing is, once again, come up with a game plan. And then the third thing is, make sure that you align yourself with people that have your best interests at heart and know exactly what they're doing. That's mandatory. It's not either or. Because you can have a person have your best interests at heart, but at the same time, they too don't know what they're doing and then be like bumper cars with your money.
Right.
And then on the other hand, they could be really good experts, but then don't have your best interests at heart. So that goes hand in hand. Once you align that self with those three conditions, then you could turn around and then start weighing options. You know who comes up with that strategy?
Who?
One of the world's greatest investors, Warren Buffett.
Right.
No matter how well he knows the stock market or how knows the economy, he aligns himself with his advisors, and his advisors counsel him on the investments, and then he runs his investments, and then he gets enough information so he can make an informed decision, and then he takes action. So if the greatest investor is doing that, why not everyone else?
What is the biggest misconception in our Black communities about money?
The biggest misconception is tomorrow's guaranteed. And what I mean by tomorrow's guaranteed is no one thinks about tomorrow.
Okay.
It's like, hey, I got the money here, man, I got to spend this thing. I got to get some, I got bills to pay. I got to buy these, whatever. And I'm going to be real, completely real with you. From time to time, I can see myself doing that. But I have to put certain type of safeguards first. So I allocate X amount of whatever for investing in myself. And that means my retirement or my business or so on. Second part goes into Uncle Sam. You got to get Uncle Sam because he doesn't go away. Then the third thing, then we start figuring out what's that discretionary. And a lot of people, and meaning our people here, haven't been taught that. It's not like they don't want to. And that's why I want to make sure we clarify. It's not like they don't want to. It's just that we're not taught this. Other areas, other type of individuals have opportunities and they learn at an early age. So obviously when they get the opportunity, they know how to move forward.
Right.
If we don't have that type of safeguards in place,
right,
then how do you expect us to go to the next level? So one of the big things, like I always like to mention, is, if you don't know it yourself, then turn around, find someone that does know and learn as much as possible about that before taking action. Because if you don't, you'll lose it before you'll have it compounding.
I think our community just misunderstand how money works, right?
Absolutely.
Because just like you said, it's like we're misinformed and we're focused more on looking a certain way.
Correct.
And we spend so much money on the perception that we got it.
Correct.
And we spend money like it's nothing.
Absolutely.
I think there was a recent study that says that less than 80% of the population has $1,000 in the saving account, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
When I asked you about investment earlier, there's different type of investments, yes, right? That when I was asking which ones you would recommend. So I'm going to name a few, and you tell me which one. If I had $100,000, would you lead me towards?
Sure.
You have whole life insurance, S&P 500, a Roth IRA, or real estates. Which one would you say that if I had the chance to sit with you and say, hey, I'm bringing that amount of money, that $100,000 could also be $1 million. I'm just taking a ballpark figure,
right?
Because I know the conversation would be different. Like if you have $100,000, it's way different than 1 million. 1 million, we could do a lot more with it, right?
Right.
But just for the sake of the argument, I have $100,000. I say, listen, I've heard about these companies, I've heard about these investments, and I want to know what you would suggest to me.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand the avenues. We have whole life insurance.
Yes.
Okay, life insurance. The second one was
whole life insurance. You have a Roth IRA.
Roth.
You have the S&P 500.
S&P 500.
And then you have real estates.
Okay. So first and foremost, I will start with the insurance. Okay. And reason being, because that's how you create a legacy, build wealth. A best way to explain how life insurance is that you're buying large quantities of money on pennies on the dollar. Okay. And that can be used and structured depending on how you know the product in many ways possible. So we always start with, and this is also going off of something called the financial pyramid. So we start with asset protection. Now, the second thing that you mentioned, you said Roth. Roth is good in certain aspects. It by itself, I do not recommend it. But when you bring its brothers and sisters, which is you're embodying a traditional IRA with that Roth, and you're accompanying it with something called an annuity. Now you're creating a three-legged stool for retirement. So then that's even better, because now what you're doing is you fill in the second space in the financial pyramid. Then you have your third one. I think you said it was S&P.
Yes.
So now the S&P, I like S&P because pretty much it's 500 of the top companies in the country here. And pretty much, obviously, if you use something called dollar cost averaging, meaning, hey, I'm sticking to the plan, I'm being consistent, and I'm paying X amount of dollars, you will turn around and be able to contribute way more than someone that just turn on just what, hey, today I'm just investing. So depending on the strategy, the S&P 500 will be very, 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 very strategic and very beneficial. And then the last one, which you mentioned, was real estate. Now, I don't want to talk bad about real estate because I love real estate, and it is one of the things there that can really generate wealth and change, the trajectory of any family if it's approached correctly. Meaning there's a game plan. You don't have to turn around and say, hey, let me just turn around and take these products. Break down how do you want to do it, and then make sure, not that you turn around and acquire it, but figure out how does that title works within, quote unquote, that individual. Meaning you need to understand that there's something called estate planning. So that means I need to put it with the trust and make sure that once it goes into the trust that I enjoy the benefits of it, and then it can pass that in a more efficient manner to my generations, meaning my children and my children's children.
Can you elaborate on the two type of trusts? I know they have irrevocable trust and a revocable trust. Can you explain from your knowledge what the two does?
Absolutely. So from my understanding, through the concept of trust between irrevocable and revocable. Revocable means, hey, you know what? It's outlined. It's my way to bypass the court system and through something called probate. And what it does in that scenario, I can now take control of how my assets pass down to my children.
Right.
Now, without doing two things. One, I need to first outline who is going to manage it. So we have something called three players. We have A, the grantor. B, we have the trustees. And C, we have the beneficiaries. Now, that can change at any time as the grantor sees, because pretty much it gives you the flexibility of changing at the discretion of the individual. Now, if you're going through the irrevocable trust, that right there is something a little bit more complex. And I always tell individuals, if you're entertaining the concept of an irrevocable trust, please talk. There's a lot of good professionals out there. Even legal, go to some attorneys, some legal professionals there, and they will tell you the pros and cons and also the tax consequences in regards to having an irrevocable trust. But going to that there, it's the same basis of a revocable trust, but once you set it, you cannot change it. And it's like saying, hey, you're creating your own invisible person of yourself there.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you have all the terms set up, meaning you know who's the trustees, you want to know who the beneficiaries, and also, and this is where the legal profession comes in, create some type of obstacle or objectives for that trust. Meaning, hey, is it for my kids? Well, then this house is not supposed to be just passed to them, but maybe it needs to be passed to them, and it should be rented, generating income, and then a portion of that funds that have been accumulated from the rental income can pass down to the kid once the child finished school, or they turn around and open up a business or so. Create objectives for that individual trust. See, these are the things that they don't tell us about. And then when you start getting into out there on the field and you see everyone else doing it, you kind of feel you're behind the eight ball.
Right.
So these are the conversations, and this is why it's so important to sit down and have meaningful conversation with not just what we're doing here, but also with the community and going to the Chamber of Commerce or so, and try to have these meetings here so people can understand that, hey, there's options. Building wealth is not one way to do it. There's more than one way to do it. And believe it or not, if you're taught the right way and seen and led the right way, it's doable and it's feasible.
You have any successful stories?
Oh, actually, yes. I could give you a recent one. So one of my number one clients recently passed away. Before he was passing away, because it was a long period of time there, one of the things that you wanted to do is you wanted to make sure that his kids were taken care of. And these kids are not, one of them is young, but they're adults. So we worked, so I told him, well, what do you want specifically to be done? And he's like, well, you know what? I have some life insurance, but also have some stuff saved away that they don't know about. And I want to put it all together into this trust. And, first he was talking about a will, and he wanted to pass it down. So the first thing is I had to educate him. A will,
You still get hit with probate. You still got to go through probate.
Yes, you got to go through there. No. We don't do wills. No. I mean, you can have a will to complement the trust, but a will by itself, no. I don't recommend that. So I have brought one of my partners that is also is a lawyer, and he explained the whole thing there, and we created something for him. Before, on his final hours there, we present it to him. We show him, hey, this is what's going to happen. This trust now creates 3 more supplemental trusts, and he only has one daughter. That was his. He loves the other kids, but his daughter was his soul.
Right.
And your daughter will be taken care of. She'll be getting XYZ. The 2 boys there. The youngest one, when he turns around and reach 25. And with college degree, he'll get X amount of dollars, and X amount meaning I think it was $15,000. And every 24 months, he'll get a bonus if he's doing something constructive, like with his business, or as he's trying to move up the ladder with his education. And then the oldest one, the one that is now my client now, he received a big lump sum, and as well as the same guidelines to help his business. And I presented it with him, with the attorney, and that look that he gave me, because he really couldn't really do anything because he was in his final period. But that piece of relief that he gave me in that look, you couldn't put a dollar amount to that.
Wow.
It let me know that I did my job, and and what I do can make or break families.
Wow. So
that is a success story I like to take into and mention to you.
Where do you see our economy going?
Oh, well, it depends on what side, how you look at it there. It can go up or down, but honestly, I see a lot of changes going on there, and I'm kind of glad we're talking about this. We're in a new era right now, and the era that we're entering right now is the AI. And before, we used to say, hey, oh man, this country has this edge on us and all this stuff. You can't say that anymore, because all this came out at the same time here. Mm-hmm. So now there's going to be a lot of changes, and there's a lot of people saying, oh, AI is terrible, it's the devil and all this other stuff. Well, they said the same thing about the vehicle, the cars and the light bulb. And look where we're at now. So the question is, are you going to embrace the change or not embrace the change? But if you don't embrace the change, then you'll fade out like the dinosaurs. So we start with understanding, what do we have there? Is it understand that this is a tool and we need to master this tool? Now, once we understand that it's a tool to us, we need to figure out, how can I use this tool to better my everyday life? Example, when I look at the stock market, before we had financial advisors, and this is something, free information I'm giving you guys here. First thing is, when you're working with a financial advisor, you ask them one key question. What is your Sharpe ratio? Sharpe ratio is the report card of the financial advisor, showing how good are they picking stocks. So right now, I don't want to give my Sharpe ratio out there, but regardless of the situation, I'm pretty good, I like to say. But no matter how good I pick these stocks, the AI is always going to pick out these same stocks, or even better, and do it much faster.
Correct.
So now I have a choice to make. It's either A, I'm going to say, I can't stand this machine, I can't stand this tool here, and not go with it, and then not better myself for my clients. Because remember, this is not just my money, I'm trading clients' money.
Of course.
Or I turn around and embrace the technology, embrace the change, and use it to better fit me and better my practice. And now I have not one, but two AI agents that turn around, let me know what's going on, what is the opportunity, and now increase my Sharpe ratio by over 36%. So
using AI?
Using AI. So now here goes the problem there. Now people are going to say, oh, well, now what does that do? Well, yeah, it came with a lot of broken eggs, because now what it did is it puts a big hindrance on people that are called financial analysts. because that's what they used to do. That's their job, to pick out the stocks. Now you have AIs that's doing it faster, more efficient, and giving you a greater return. So what happens to those individuals? Well, the ones that are at my firm, I sit down and have a strong conversation with them. And I let them know you have two options. It's either A, you evolve, or B, well, I'm sorry, but it was a blast. And what I try to do is I try to give them a way to transition. You don't let all that knowledge go to waste. Embrace it. And what you need to do is redirect your focus and evolve. One of the big things that people do like is when you sit down, you explain to them, not too techie, not too simple, but just enough so that they can understand and there's a meeting of the mind. And if you can walk a person through that process efficiently, you have a demand.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing with the analysts. I'm transitioning them to let them know that, hey, maybe you need to think about being an advisor versus being the guy behind the screen, because AI has pretty much got that on lock right now.
Walk us through your company. How is it set up? What's the size of it?
Well, I'm with a firm which is the third largest broker dealer in the world, Fidelity Investments. So $14 trillion. I run the Boca office. So with that one there, well, I co-manage that office. Long story short there, my team consists of right now about 27 people. However, the office itself holds about a little bit over 136 individuals. And that's, we call it in-desk or in-office and out-office. So we have a pretty big office there. Now, what goes into the next level is, with all that size and all this muscle and all this resource, how do we laser that into giving one-on-one concierge service to people, and especially the people that needs it? And that's where I come in, and that's where the strategic group comes in. We're not just trying to sell products. No, our job is to educate, embrace, and make you elevate.
Elon Musk is set to be a trillionaire by sometime this month. You know that, right?
Yeah, so I heard. Starting, I think, by tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's around tomorrow. That's the day that he's set to be a trillionaire, the first trillionaire in the world.
Yes.
He had a conversation. I was listening to him. He says that he believed that our dollar is going to get devalued. Like the people are not going to value, or with the inflation and everything that's going on, it's not going to be valued at the same rate.
Correct.
What would you say to that?
I think he does have a point in certain elements. And reason being, inflation has always been there. And I know a lot of people saying, oh, just because what Elon Musk said, but what Elon is talking about has always been there. Inflation is, I like to say, the corrosion of the dollar. So this is why it's important to sit down with a financial professional and not just do it one time, because, we got people that, hey, I did it. When's the last time you talked to your financial advisor? 4 years ago. Come on, man. That doesn't work. No. So what we do there, it's very important that your financial advisors are following up with you on a minimum annual basis, because things change, things happen, the plan change, and it will change your plan. So what we do in that situation is we explain that how your investment's doing and how does it hold up against inflation. And as you know, there's been a lot of inflation going on there. If you don't believe it, take a look at gas. Last year, I remember gas being around 2 and some change.
Right.
And look where it's at now. It's like it costs an arm and a leg.
Right.
So definitely, you want to make sure that the client understands inflation and why it's important to make sure that whatever you're doing, you have a minimum of 8 to 10x or percent on whatever you're doing. So if you're getting an investment, you want to make sure you're netting around between 6 to 10% on whatever return you're getting. If you're doing work, you want to increase your business by maybe 10% and so on and so on, because you're trying to calculate inflation and try to beat it out.
Many investors focus solely on returns. How do you balance financial performance with long-term client relationship and ethical decision making?
Absolutely. Ooh. You're not playing with the questions today. I see that. All right. Well, first and foremost, one of the big things that I like to do with my clients is they usually, in the beginning, they're usually angry with me. And I call it getting red in the face. Okay? My mentor, rest in peace, told me at an early age in my career was that you're not a true financial advisor if you don't scare your clients. And not just scare them just to boo and stuff like that. Scare them and show them the truth. What you're doing now does not make sense to your goal. You're not going to be able to get it. Show them the truth. Secondly, your job is to turn around and create a plan where they're falling short at. And then you explain to them, hey, the habit that you're doing contradicts towards the goals that you set. So what needs to get changed? Third, and a lot of financial advisors do this, brother. A lot of them. They don't want to take accountability. Sometimes things happen. I can't control the stock market. I wish I could. I'd make a lot more money, but
of course
I can't. So they don't want to say that the plan fails. So they turn around and just say, hey, what we're going to do is just continue this and do. No. Not at the strategic group. No. What we do is, okay, all right, we've been monitoring your account. Your account has now dropped. So this plan is not working. We can turn around and maybe it could be just a small little sector type of thing, a sector rotation, or it needs to be, maybe we need to make an adjustment towards a plan. Maybe we need to change certain weights and parameters on your plan there so that you get the goal or the return that you're looking for. So being upfront, outlining the actual goals of the individual and telling them the truth of what their habits are and what needs to get done and making sure that they're consistent is what true financial advisors are supposed to be doing.
Wow.
Yep.
Any failure stories, like anyone that came in, you gave them some advice, they didn't listen, and then it cost them?
Yes. So, interesting story. So I had a very good client, and I think he sold the business, or I don't know what happened, but he received a large lump sum of money. Now, the thing that irks me a lot is the business was something that he fell into. So he doesn't understand he just knew how to operate it. Mm-hmm. So my big thing is, always take every opportunity with a grain of salt, and until you know exactly what it is, and then you move full throttle. So he turned around and he heard this thing here that was called NFT or NTF, those little, it was supposed to be a little trading thing there.
NFT, I believe.
Yes, NFT. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yes, he turned around and decided to say, hey, you know what? We have some cash here. Let's take $150,000 from what I got, and we're going to invest in this because I'm going to make a rate of return. Doesn't understand the concept, doesn't understand the principle. He just took a shot at in the dark and ran with it. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing that I was explaining to him was, hey, you should turn around and do it. I wouldn't say you shouldn't take and invest, but what I think you should do is come up with a better plan. Have your money working for you. Those are the good workers.
Right.
And then just put it up. The dollar is a very good worker there. They don't complain. They don't take time off. They work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they multiply and make more. So we need to come up with a strategy that complements that. So why don't we invest in good things, maybe like REITs, because he liked real estate at the time, get some good cash flow coming in. No, I want to take a chance and invest into this venture here with $150K. And yeah, Yeah, as much as you see his 150K is how much I see his 150K. So, yep. Yeah. So, yeah, that's not a good one. Now, where I always look at is I don't look at my success with my clients. What I look at is the failures or the ones that did not do it. And what I do is when I look at the failures, the unsuccessful stories, I want to look at it, and I don't blame the client, never the client. It's what did I didn't do so that the client didn't understand and take the route or the proper action or take the proper course of action and move in the right direction where I want them to go. So maybe it could be the tone, maybe it could be the time, maybe the timing that I was interacting with them. It was a bad day. Maybe I should have pulled back. As advisors, you have to always evaluate yourself and make sure that, hey, your client understands what you're conveying. Because if not, they'll ignore you. They'll turn around and I don't know what he's talking about.
Right.
And then when you're right or something happens and they come back to you, don't turn around and rub it in their face.
Right.
People make mistakes, So now the question is, how do you get out of it? And if, as advisor, if we could understand that, lots of people would turn around and change their image or their understanding of how to work with a financial advisor.
If you could sit down with your younger self on your first day at Morgan Stanley team in 2001,
Yes.
right? What advice would you give him knowing everything you know today?
Make sure that you master and understand the financial pyramid. I would heavily load up on life insurance. I would maximize, instead of jumping straight into the stock market, as in going into a brokerage account where they call non-qualified, I would have maximized all my opportunities for a qualified account so that I would have had tax benefits. Then the third thing was I would have looked very aggressively into real estate. And not real estate to say, hey, I'm buying and holding, flipping, but buying and getting rental income. And then the last one there, repeat the process and share the information with like-minded individuals.
What is the financial pyramid?
Good question. I was waiting for you to ask that. I said it a couple times.
I know this is the third time you said it.
So the financial pyramid is the basis of how all financial advisors invest. It starts with asset protection, which is insurance. People don't like hearing the word insurance a lot, so they use the word asset protection. And pretty much it is I like to say the seed or the foundation of building wealth. So, hey, I couldn't give my child $1 million, but if I invested into some good life insurance, you can invest in term, whatever, I can now turn around and give my child an opportunity that I didn't have. And that just cost me cents on the dollar. So financial advising is one. Asset protection is one. Number two is retirement planning. People always talk about, I want to get an investment. I want to get investments. And I hear all these people jumping into these Robinhood accounts and Cash Apps or whatever, or what do you call it? Oh my God, whatever type of brokerage accounts that they jump into and E-Trade, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you're skipping a step. Max, you could do the same type of trading in a retirement account and some. And here goes the beautiful thing. If you do it correctly, there's something called qualifications. That's why you hear me say qualified and non-qualified. Qualified means, that, hey, it's a tax benefit to it. There's two stems from that. One meaning, hey, I get a pre-tax. So any dollar that comes in there lowers my tax liability.
Are you referring to like a 401k?
That is a pre-tax. Absolutely. 401k falls under pre-tax, or they call qualified.
So that's a retirement account.
Retirement account.
So
yes.
are you pro 401ks?
Well, it depends. If the job is offering a match, I say max it out, because you never leave money on the table. We never leave money on the table. So we turn around and match it dollar for dollar up to whatever percent that they're willing to match. $1 over that, you put it into your own retirement account. And reason being, because you can manage your money much better than a lot of these 401k plans. you'll be amazed at how these 401ks perform. And I'm just going to say a statistical, and this is coming from the Harvard Business Review, that 401ks, if you put them all together, there's tens of thousands of them, how they're structured. 80% of them are non-performing. That means you're telling me if we had 10 people here and they all have 401ks, 20% or 2 people out of 10 are going to have a performing or a great positive rate of return on their 401k. That's bad. So I don't want to put my chances on. Why would I want to overload and put something that has a strong possibility of not performing well? I'd rather take the chance myself or talk to someone that can do that. So we got to understand what the pre-tax are. So, well, I have a 401k. What can I do with that? Well, the similar like vehicle will be a traditional IRA. And if you depend on how your income is made, and if you're a small business owner, you might have something like a simple or SEP IRA where you can get and put a larger amount. There's some other rules that goes with it, but regardless, it goes from a regular traditional IRA, you could put up to, I believe, $7,000 per year. With a SEP or with a SEP IRA or a key-off, you can put up to $70,000 or 25% or limit to 25% of your income. Now, look at that. See, new information, new decision. Now, seeing it a little bit different. Now, this is the problem that I have with people. They'll overload one side and don't look at the other side. The other side of the qualified, to hear that word again, qualified, is called the Roth. The Roth is pretty much what they call after tax. So the growth on that, you don't see the benefit immediately, meaning you don't see it, it doesn't bring down your tax liability. What it is if it stays in that account for 5 years, that's the little thing that's in the bottom. They don't tell you that part. If that account money is in that account for over 5 years, that growth is tax free. Now, a lot of people say, oh, okay, my money's in the Roth. I put it in there and then I pull it out, but I got taxed because you didn't let it sit in there for 5 years. Second qualification is if you're under the age of 59 and a half, you're going to get something called the 10% penalty because these are called retirement accounts. You're not supposed to be moving around. If you're pulling it fast like that, you need to have a regular account, a non-qualified account. So understand those two levels will make sure that, you know, you can optimize your retirement account and using Uncle Sam into quote unquote to benefit your position. Then you have the third tier of the financial pyramid. This is what we call the asset accumulation phase. This is your brokerage account, real estate, businesses, you know, from that, you know, business interests, things that have capital gain, pay interest and all this other stuff. This gets paid taxed, obviously, with money that is pretty much, that's going to be taxable. The growth is taxable, and then the distribution is taxable. And then you reach to the final top of the financial pyramid, which is called asset distribution. This is where the strength and the importance of the financial advisor comes in. His job is to turn around and come up with strategies where funds are, because regardless of how you look at it and how you build it, you're going to pay taxes. Folks, you're going to pay taxes. Uncle Sam it doesn't play around, okay? You got to pay that. We got to pay him. So now, your job as a financial advisor is to come up with a route or a strategy that the client pays the least amount of taxes. But how can he get there if you didn't maximize your opportunities from step 2, which is the retirement account? You see how that growth comes in?
Right.
So a lot of people skip that step there and they build this wealth. And then long story short, then they have this big tax bill
at the end. So that was my question, because that's always been the conception. We always have this conversation at work. Like, but let's say you start today and you want to go to year 20. Your tax break from day 1 to 20 is completely different.
Absolutely.
And the value of that money also, if it's only performing is less than 80%. I mean, 20% is performing, 80% are not performing.
Correct.
So that means my money is just sitting there, right?
Exactly.
So if I'm going to catch a tax break in 10 years, the whole conversation came up. Why do I even need to put money into my 401k?
Correct.
Right.
So let's be honest, and this is for America here. I'm explain everything here. 401k is nothing more than an account. Just like you have a bank account, 401k is just the IRS code or IRC code. So how that works is there's benefits on two sides. One, the consumer, because they're contributing and they're putting money in. And obviously they are rewarded by getting something called a tax deduction. Whatever contributions that you put in there, when they file their taxes, it helps lower the tax liability. So they get a tax refund. Their tax refund increases. The second side is the employer. And the employer turns around and he benefits from it because he gets the same benefit as well, helps bring down his taxes, his tax liability. But here it goes where it benefits the employer. You ever hear people turn around and say, I quit my job and I just left the 401k and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. The minute you leave your employment, your benefits and stuff like that, that tax benefit stops until you turn around and get employment, and then you instruct that fund, your vested fund, to go somewhere else. You know who makes that benefit and enjoys that and sees his rate of return and watches capitalization increase? The employer. Wow. So that's why it's important to always talk to a financial advisor and say, especially and what they should be asking is, have you left your job or have you any jobs that you've left had a 401k? You want to roll that money over into your IRA or depending on whatever pre-tax account you have. So you can put it in there and you can maximize the opportunity and you get the benefit, not them. And a lot of people don't pay attention, or they turn around and say, hey, this is a lot of money here. I'm going to go spend it. Well, you know who wins in that situation? Mm-hmm. Uncle Sam.
Of course.
Because I'm going to get you on because you can't control yourself. I'm going to hit you with the 10%.
Of course.
And then after that goes onto your earned income. And now I'm going to tax you on that, on whatever your tax bracket is.
And then when you spend it.
And then, see, you one up me. There you go. Yep. And then when you spend it, forget you. So it's very important that people understand how to treat these funds.
Right.
And this is why I like to call them qualified funds, that you want to roll into a qualified account and you want to understand the qualifying rules relating to those qualifying funds.
Man, you're very knowledgeable, man. You know a lot of stuff.
Oh, man, I had good help, man. And my mentor was good. He sat down and told me that, first and foremost, you're going to have to understand no one's not going to give you nothing here. I was like, oh, sound like my mother.
Right.
And number two in the situation, my biggest investment was I didn't give up on him. He made me do a lot of things where I'm like, oh my gosh, he's driving me bananas, but that's the youth in me at that time. I didn't understand why. Now that I'm older and I'm able to see it, I understand why he wanted me to turn on and engage, why he wanted me to send in all those appointments, why he wanted me to turn around and read these books, because now I'm in a position now. So when I have a family in front of me and they have a unique situation and it goes outside of the cookie cutter concept of wherever brokerage or whatever bank that they're working with, I can sit down and talk to them and guide them correctly and give them the solution and give them the peace of mind that they're looking for.
Dave Ramsey has a philosophy: buy everything cash. We don't get into debt. We don't. Credit it's not a good thing. Or he has this biblical verse that he uses. He says the lender is always the borrower is always going to be the slave of the lender, right?
Right.
And then you have Robert Kiyosaki, who has a different mindset.
Correct.
He says borrow until you die.
Correct.
Right? So you keep borrowing.
Correct.
Dave Ramsey have a different philosophy. Which one of those two philosophies you lean more towards?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
But let's be real, and I'm going to call in. I'm going to get a whole bunch of phone calls because of this. I'm going to shoot straight. Dave Ramsey, and another person that you didn't mention, I thought you were going to say like Susie Orman.
Okay, yes.
let's be real. They're very successful. Their strategy is proven. It does work. But you know what? Their strategies are not talking to people like us. They're not talking to the everyday Joe Blow that, hey, you know what? I have to stretch this dollar to make it $1.15. They're not talking to those people. They're talking to people that they are already financially set up or someone in there and they're trying to scale up. So if I want to talk about building wealth, I want to talk to a person and say, hey, did you come from the same thing? What did you do to get it? And a lot of these guys, when they're talking, and if I had to favor a person, I'll favor Robert Kiyosaki on that part. But I want to talk to a person that understands my struggle, so that I can say, all right, so this is what you did, and so on and so on, and I can understand and relate to him. So a lot of stuff that, like I said again, there he's talking about buy everything cash and all this other. Well, the problem is, we ain't got money. The money ain't coming to us directly like that. You know, let's be real.
Facts.
You know, it's not coming to us like that. We don't have no rich uncle and stuff like that. We got to work. Some of us got to work 2 jobs. And so how can you tell me to do this? So what can I do? What they should tell you is, hey, well, now you need to understand the power of changing yourself there from having things under your Social Security. Maybe you need to understand leveraging having a business so you can turn on and write off on some of this stuff and get some stuff here when you file your taxes and stuff. Or I can depreciate certain things there. Now you start seeing the world a little bit differently. So instead of me going to I don't know, pick a restaurant. Let me say I'm going to Chick-fil-A or something like that, or I'm going and I'm sitting there with one of my friends there. Instead of me going and just paying that, now if it's someone that I'm engaged with and I'm talking about my ideas, well, you know what? That changed to now a business meal. And now it becomes something that I can write off. Right. Or if I'm buying a vehicle, hey, you know what? I can turn around and understand that, hey, there's now depreciation before just buying stuff. And so when these guys, like I said, again, when they're talking, they're not really talking for the everyday, people that I run into a lot of that needs my help. They're talking to the clients that I see that comes to my office. Right. So I like them to always adjust the frequency of their recommendation and keep it real and be honest. So when you're talking to the everyday person, it comes with the first thing there. Let's talk about your realization. Let's talk about your goals. What do you want to do within the first 6 months or maybe first year? Where do you see yourself and what are you trying to do? And tell them the truth. I don't want to hear someone say, I want to make $1 million. I'm like, please, whatever plan that is, let me know, because I like that. But the truth of the matter is, tell them the truth. That's not feasible. Let's turn around and talk about how can we get to point A, point B in the most efficient way and the best way possible. You want to turn around, you want to open up a shop. That's good. That's a good goal. So let's turn around and get a couple things going. Let's turn around and get from here. Let's turn around, set things to the side. Let's stop going out here. Let's turn around, start eating home. Small little things there. Which another thing that a lot of guys on that tier doesn't talk about is DMPs. You need to have, if you're going to build wealth, you need to have a debt management plan or DMP. And that lets you know what are the things that are fixed, what are the things that are variable, and what are the things that I buy at my own discretion. And a lot of people do not talk about that, or people in my circle don't talk about it, because what it does, it keeps you dependent on us. So, sorry, financial world. Sorry, financial world. Oops, my bad.
I was reading an article how much money banks make.
Oh, yeah.
Off of we're talking about all these fees, like overdraft fees.
Oh yeah,
these fees. You know,
absolutely.
They make that. That's actually one of their backbone of their company, right?
Yes.
Since you work for a bank, I have a personal question for you.
Sure.
I walk in the bank and I deposit $5,000. Right. Even if it's a cashier's checks, it takes 4 or 5 days to get clear. Why is that? Because I believe personally, even if it's the check is from the same institution, right?
Yep.
I understand
on us. Yep.
I understand they're gonna say, well, it's for fraudulent reason. We need to verify this. I've always had the mindset that our money is being used when they're holding it, they are investing it and collecting at least for the day or the 2 days or the 3 days that it's sitting there. How true is that?
Okay. So I'm going to say this without getting myself into trouble, but educating the consumers. Just know that the way how the bank works, it's a big circle. So you put in X amount of dollars. People think that, oh, okay, so the bank normally has, whatever millions and all this other stuff. No, the bank does not have money, especially with the fractional banking rules that are in place. No, they don't. But what they do is they have other assets and other investments that they turn around and do. And what they use is they have the right to use depository income or assets to fulfill these type of investments. And some of these deals turn around and yield them a high yield amount. Let's say in a hypothetical scenario, what is if you go to any one of these big boys and you'll get a loan, you probably get a loan for about, let's say 7% right now, 6.5.
6 is good. 6 right now is good.
Okay. All right. Now keep in mind, now you turn around, you go back to your account, you want your money now, right? And let's say you're one of those guys there that said, hey, I'm going to stay and let my money stay in there for 30 days. How much does that bank pays you for keeping that money in that account? Less than 1%? So now you're telling me that 5% through arbitrage goes to the bank because they're in the right place at the right time and they gave liquidity? This is, my brother, and I'm glad that you're pointing out and we're having this conversation. This is where we talk about knowledge is power, because when you're hearing how money is maneuvered and moves around, people get amazed with $1 million and that's nothing to them. That's whatever.
Right.
Okay. These guys are moving billions of dollars back and forth. And trust me, I'm going to have a workshop about that later on. Go deeper into this, how money moves, especially in the financial circuit. So long story short there's things called tranches that they have to fulfill. And these are just small little investment vehicles that they have certain investors in, and and investors meaning not just Joe Blow, but we're talking about other banks. And they turn around and they invest and they make returns. And then some expires, and when it expires, it gives back to them. And then ultimately speaking, them being a servicer, they get a small percentage. And you know what? Out of that percentage, I got to pay back Joe Blow because it came from his account. So let me give him his par, which is the actual dollar amount, and the rate of return that's agreed on the agreement for open up the account, which is always subject to change. That's the little fine print when when they tell around here, you just need to sign here and all that other stuff. Of course. Yeah, that's that little fine print there. Yeah.
Wow. Personally, what do you enjoy doing?
Personally, I love spending time with my kids. That's one. Watching them, their personality come out. That's always interesting. Another big thing there is seeing I like to say traveling, stuff like that. But right now, that's grabbed my interest is the city of North Miami and its change and its development, and seeing what happened from how North Miami used to look like in 1997 to see where it's at now, and seeing how it developed. It's one of those things that it's interesting. I'm just going to keep it broad like that, right? Interesting can be anything, right? But it's interesting. It's gone through a lot of changes, different faces, different cultures. So for me, I'm a little weird like that. I like to see my clients. I love to see, interact with people and stuff like that. So that's what I like to do on for fun, So the more people I interact with, more opportunities I have to helping people and knowing who I am.
How many kids do you have?
I have 4 amazing kids.
Yeah, 4 kids?
4, yes.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, the jersey's hanged up now.
What are the ages?
I have a beautiful daughter. She is 26, 27 now. And I have a 23, 24. He works with me. Actually, he's now a junior partner now.
Oh, nice.
And then I have 2 amazing sons. One is 13 and the other one is 10.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes the TV didn't work that time. just kidding. All right, I'm sorry, America. My bad.
So what have fatherhood teach you?
Patience.
Right.
Patience. It taught me that sometimes you're not right the first time, and the question is, how do you go about that? And last but least. And once you figure out how to go about that, making that change, letting the person know that you're sorry. That is one of the biggest obstacles I had at the time. And now that I'm a lot older now I want to give it there's miles behind these eyes, man. There's miles. But regardless of the situation, it taught me how to, evolve and change, and there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you know what, I was wrong, But also too, it taught me that also being a parent, you can't be everyone's friends. Your job is to make sure that they have the best example possible so that they could be good law-abiding citizens. And you want to make sure that they're in the best position possible. So sometimes being the bad guy can be the good guy, but it takes time for people to understand that.
Robert, how are you giving back to the community now?
Oh, I love trying to give back to the community. I love it. So now I am in my own captainship there. So I like doing a lot of public speaking. Now we're getting ready to set up something there of a scholarship program. But right now I've created a nonprofit called the Tomorrow is Better. And what it is, it's nothing more than I grab individuals with like-mindedness, but doesn't have the opportunity, and they want to make an impact financially to the community. So I train them to become financial advisors. And then with that send them to the public and let them get licensed, obviously, and stuff like that, and give them the opportunity that they normally wouldn't have. So then, like I said again, we're trying to focus on getting scholarships. And we want to turn around and give everyone the opportunity, because sometimes, everyone focused on the A student, stuff like that. I'm going to keep it real. America, I wasn't that A student. I wasn't.
I graduated with a 2.2. I graduated with a C.
Exactly. And you know what? But look at this. Sometimes it takes a little bit more to see the actual person's character. Everyone needs a chance. So sometimes that person that look like they're struggling and stuff like that, they just need a little push. And if you give them the right opportunity, the sky's the limit. It worked for me.
We usually give our guests a chance to speak directly at the camera, just to give a word of wisdom, share some knowledge with our viewers and listeners. Someone who's might be struggling now financially, someone who want to get into finance, you understand?
Right.
So we want to give you a chance to speak directly to them and speak life into them.
Absolutely. My final thought is understand the fact that time, I used to believe when I was younger that money was the prime asset in life. It's all about money, how much you can acquire and all this other stuff. But I've learned that time is the true prime asset in life. And it's something that is very expensive and you can't get enough of. What are you going to do with your time? You're going to turn around and, squander away? But keep in mind, if you do squander away, you can't get it back. What are you going to do to make yourself better? What are you going to turn around and do with your time that's going to benefit not just your family, not just yourself, not just your community, but leave a good impression so that you can be remembered?
Robert, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure, my brother. This is your home. I'm definitely going to keep picking your brain, my brother.
like always. All right.
And at this time, we want to thank all of our continuous sponsors: AZ Formal Wear, Comprehensive Health Center, Gourmet Gathering by Chef Princess E, and Chick-fil-A Miami Shores. Most importantly, we want to thank you, our viewers and listeners who tunes in every week. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you.